All right, good morning everyone. Welcome back to our next video lesson. So we still want to make sure that you are comfortable with classes. Classes, you can think of them as a collection of nouns and the verbs that act on those nouns. So it's a step above and beyond what a structure does. A structure is a list of nouns, and then a class has the functions that act on those nouns. So what I'll do is I'll click File, New. Actually, I'm sorry, I already created a project. CS225 classes. We're going to work on the triangle class. So let me go over here to the Solution Explorer. Header files. I want to create a header file called triangle because that's my class. And what a triangle does is a triangle has a base and a height, and so I can calculate the area based on that. And so let's go ahead and right-click on header files, add a new item. And I want to create a header file. And over here, instead of the word header, let me remove that, and I'll just type in the word triangle in its place. So there we are. And I'm going to get rid of all the code here and start fresh. Now, what the header file does is it defines an overall skeletal view of what the class elements are. What are those nouns and what are those verbs that act on those nouns? But it doesn't actually implement them. So I'll start off with the word class, whatever the name of the class is, which should match the name of the actual file, which in this case is triangle. So we have class triangle. You have public members, colon. You have private members. And in this case, the private members are going to be the base and also the height. I don't want you to have direct access to the base and the height. I want to see if you are giving me an appropriate value for the base and the height, namely positive values. If you're giving me negative values, I'm not going to let you change the base and the height. And so that's what the functions inside of the public area are going to do. All right, well, the first thing that I can work on, it doesn't have to be the first thing, is to actually create a constructor. So this will be the default constructor. It's the same name as the class. I'm also going to have an overloaded constructor. This overloaded constructor, you give me the base, which I'll call base parameter. You give me the height, which I'll call height parameter. And then I can implement a triangle based on some width and some height. Okay, let me spell this correctly first. Triangle. There we go. So this over here, we call this guy the default constructor. And this is the overloaded constructor. So the overloaded constructor is going to have parameters that I can send to it. The default constructor doesn't have any parameters. If I create a triangle, I'll set its base and its height to 0 because I don't know what it is. But I've still created a triangle. Here, I'm going to create a triangle, but I know its base and its height because you gave it to me. We'll ask the user, what is the base? What is the height? And then we can calculate the area based on that information. Okay, so those are my constructors. Another thing that I need to create are the getters and the setters. So to set something, we'll say void set base. Now you've got to give me a base. So I'll say give me a double, and here I'm going to call it base parameter. So what this guy does is it allows me to change the base depending on what you gave to me. If you give me a positive value, then I'll go ahead and change the base. Now I'll say void set height. And you're going to give me a double, and I'm going to call it height parameter. So with the height parameter, I will change the value of the private instance variable height. Okay. One of the things that I'm going to want to do also is to get the data. See, this is a private instance variable. I don't have direct access to that. So I'm going to create getters. So I'll say double get the base, and that's simply going to be open and close parentheses, and also double get the height. So what I've done here is I've given myself, or the programmer who uses my class, the ability to get this and this private instance variable by creating a getter function. What does this thing return? A double, because both of these are doubles. So I just have a mechanism for obtaining that data. And then I'm also going to need to determine what the area is. So I can say double calc area. So what this thing does is it calculates the area and returns that value. I've seen some programmers use the word get, like get area, which in essence is just calculating the area. It's up to you. Whatever word works best for you, whether it's calc area or get area. The idea is you are in fact going to calculate the area. All right, so that is the header file. Now let me have you save all, and we're going to now create the implementation file that implements all of these particular items. So the implementation file is always a C++ file. So we're going to go over here to Solution Explorer, Source Files, right-click, Add a new item, and we're going to add the C++ file called triangle.cpp. So I click on this guy. It's a C++ file that I want. Instead of the word source, I want triangle, because as you can see, that's the name of the file. That's the name of the header file. So we want the triangle.cpp file to implement this. So I'll click Add, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the screen so that you could see the header file over here and the implementation file over here. Okay. Well, the first thing that I'll do is I'll implement the actual constructor. So that just simply means this is going to come from the triangle class. Before I do that, I'm sorry, I have to include. So let me say include, and then in quotation marks, give a listing of, it'll give me a listing of all the user-defined header files. And in this case, I want triangle. So I'll just simply double-click that. Now that I've included this, I have access to all of Triangle's members. So all I have to do is type in triangle, which is the name of the class, colon. That's going to give me a listing of all of the different classes that are members that are available. You'll see that base and height have a tiny padlock. These are private instance variables, so I actually don't have access to those. It's showing me though that those are the two private instance variables. In this case, I want to work with the constructor, so I'll just simply type in or double click on triangle. And then I want to make sure that it matches what I have over here. It looks like it's just the open and close parentheses, so open and close parens followed by the curly braces. Now, you can see here I don't have any arguments. When I created this triangle, you aren't giving me any information about the triangle. You just said create a triangle. Well, in order for me to create a triangle, I'm going to have to give this a base of 0 and a height of 0. See, if you gave me some data like the base and the height, then I can create an actual triangle based on that base and the height. But in this case, you didn't give me any information, so I'll just simply default base and height to 0. Remember what a constructor does. It's like the preliminary, let's get things ready to go before we run the program. As if you and I were to go to the track and field, and we have to stretch, tie our shoes, get a little drink of water, and then we start our race. That's what a constructor does. It's typically used to set things up, and then you run the program. Well, now we're ready for our overloaded constructor, which receives a base and a height. So I'm going to hit enter a couple of times after that curly braces, and once again I need to type in the name of the class, colon. Once again we'll say triangle, and it looks like this guy over here has a double base parameter, double height parameter. So I'll just simply repeat that, base parameter and also a double height parameter with an open and close curly bracket. Well, now that I have that, you are giving me the base, you are giving me the height. Oops, I said height P, I meant height parameter. Now that you've given me the base and the height, I can set that directly. I could do this. I could say the base is going to be the base parameter argument that you sent me, and the height is going to be the height parameter that you sent me, right? You sent me this, you sent me this, so I'll assign those to here. Now, I don't have to do that. What I could do is I say, oh, I'm not going to just automatically assign it. What if you gave me a negative value? Maybe I only want positive values. So I could have put this instead of an if statement. I won't, well, actually, I'll do it just so I can illustrate the point. I'll say, if the base parameter is greater than 0. If that's the case, then I'll go ahead and assign the base parameter like this. And then I'll have a separate if statement. If the height parameter that you gave to me, if that is greater than 0. Okay, well, if that's the case, then I'll assign height. Now, if that's not the case, then I'll just say else base is going to be 0. And if this is not the case, that you did not send to me a positive value, then I'll set the height to 0. I got to set it to something. So I'll set it to 0 if you gave me any negative value. But if you gave me a positive value, then I'll go ahead and take what you gave to me and assign it to the private instance variable. Same thing for height. If you gave me a positive value, then I'll set it to the private instance variable height. Otherwise, I'm changing these to 0. So you can see I can place restrictions before I just simply set a value. Maybe I have some criteria that you have to meet first before I actually set those values. All right, press enter a couple of times over here, and looks like we're going to work with set base. Well, before I actually have access to this, I have to type in the name of the class, colon, colon, then I can search for set base, which is this guy over here. Let me make sure that I have everything identical to here, so it looks like it's double base parameter. Usually what I just do is I just simply take this, copy and paste it, just copy and paste it over here, follow it up with a open and close curly braces. And so, oh, by the way, it looks like this thing has a void in front of it. That's why I have the squiggly line over here. So I have to type in void to match what I've got over here. So this thing doesn't return anything. It's coming from the triangle class. So I'm allowed to set items. All right. Well, if you gave me the base parameter, then what I can do is I can just simply say base is going to be whatever that base parameter is that you sent to me. You gave me this, I can assign it. But maybe I don't want to be so generous here. I don't want to just simply take what you've given to me and assign it to base. I mean, I could if I want to. It's up to you. But if you want to be more restrictive, you can just simply put an if statement here. If the base parameter is greater than 0, yeah, then you're permitted to do this. But if it's not greater than 0, then I'm just going to simply set the base to 0. Do you have to do this? No. It's, again, showing you that you can place restrictions on what you want to do. That was set base. Now we can go ahead and work with set height. So it looks like this thing is a void function. So I type in void, the name of the class, colon, colon. I'm going to be working with set height, which is this guy right here. So double click. It looks like I've got a parens, double, height parameter. I'll just simply copy and paste that, put that over here. Open and close curly braces. So I can take what you've given to me and assign it to the private instance variable height. So I can take height and set that to what you gave to me, which is height parameter. But maybe again, I don't want to be so generous. Maybe I want to restrict what I'm going to be assigning this private instance variable based on what you've given to me. So if you wanted to, you could just simply put this within an if statement. If the height parameter, the thing that you're giving to me, the argument, if that's greater than 0, then yes, I'll permit height parameter to be assigned to height. But if that's not the case, then I'm going to have height be assigned the number 0. Once again, do you have to do it this way? No, it's up to you. Okay, so now that I have the set parameter for base, and I'm sorry, set base, set height, let's now work with our getters. So over here, it looks like this get base function starts off with a double. So let me type in the word double, the name of the class, which is triangle, colon, colon, and then the name of the function is get base, so that's this guy right here. Looks like there's an open and close parens, so open and close parens, and then followed by curly braces. So the idea behind get base is just to simply give me what the base is. I can't directly have access to this because it's private. So what I'll do over here is I'll have to return whatever the base is. You have access to this guy called get base. It'll return the base parameter. Okay, I want to do the same thing now for get height. So it looks like this thing returns a double. So I'll just simply say double. The name of the class, which is triangle, and it looks like it's called get height. In fact, why don't I just simply copy and paste this part? So I'll just take this guy over here, copy and paste, or you could have, typed it out. Either method is okay. The idea is you need access to the height parameter, so we'll say return height. I shouldn't say height parameter, the height private instance variable. And then finally, we want to be able to calculate the area based on the height and the base. So it looks like this is double. So double. And then the triangle class, colon, colon, it looks like it's called calc area. And then there are no arguments in here, so open and close parens. Now, the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So we'll say return the mathematical equation 1/2 the base times the height, whatever that happens to be. If you didn't set it to anything, if you didn't set the base or the height to anything, then it's just going to simply return 0. But if there is a value for the base and for the height, then we are going to return the mathematical result of this equation, which is the area of a triangle, 1/2 the base times the height. So now you've done the hard work of creating a header file and the implementation file, the C++ file. You save all. So now you can use this triangle class anytime you want. Maybe you're going to make a game with the idea of training students to determine what the area of a triangle is based on the height and also the base parameter. Well, you have this tool. You'll never have to create it again. So you just simply take this code and bring it with you for any other program that deals with triangles. So now let's create a source file that actually is our program that will utilize this triangle class. I'll go over here to Solution Explorer, right-click on Source Files, add a new source file. So over here it says source.cpp, perfect. Let me click Add. Here's source.pp. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to say include IOStream. We're also going to include this brand new user-defined class that we just created called triangle.h. So I'll just simply double-click this. Now what that means is it's as if someone has walked into our classroom with a toolbox. Someone walks in with a carpentry toolbox, and another person walks in with an auto mechanics toolbox. Well, they have different tools in there. So here's a toolbox. Here's another toolbox with all kinds of tools inside. Here are the tools that we get to use, by the way. Okay. So now we'll say using namespace int main, and we'll just use this because we're using the Windows environment. System pause to pause the program. Return 0. And over here we're going to have some declarations. We're going to say get the user input, and we're going to perform some calculation and output in this same area. So I'm going to go back over here to declarations. Let me go ahead and create a triangle. I'm not going to ask the user for data yet. We'll do that the next time. Let me just go ahead and create a triangle. Well, that triangle is going to be based whatever the triangle is that I'm going to create. Let's just simply call it my triangle. And I'm going to give it a base of 1 and a height of 2. All right, let me this here so I can have a big screen. So this is called the object. This is called the class. My triangle is a triangle. Right? So we have an is-a relationship when you're talking about objects and the classes that they are instantiated from. Could I have created another triangle, like, say, for example, my shape? Open, close parentheses, like that, say, for example. Sure, I could have. Now, notice that my shape, which is a type of triangle, right? My shape is a triangle, doesn't have any arguments. I'm giving you a new triangle called my triangle that has parameters, namely the base and the height. So you can create as many triangles as you want, right, and give them independent names. I'll take away this guy. We'll just stick with this one right now. Okay, I need the base. I need the height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user, cout, enter the base. And we'll put that into this variable called base. I'm going to cout, enter the height. And again, I'm going to place that into a variable called height. Well, now that I have that, this class, or this object rather, called my triangle, so my triangle, I can set the base and I can also set the height. So dot set, looks like I have set base and I have set height. Well, let me work with the base first. Now, I need to give this thing a double. This double represents the base. Oh, I already have that from the user, so I can just simply type in base. I'm going to send you the base parameter so that you can set up my triangle with the given base. I'm going to do the same thing again, but set the height. Now it looks like you need a double parameter, specifically something that represents the height. Oh, I already have that. The user gave me the height parameter. So I can just simply type in height over here. Well, now that my triangle has a base and it has a height, I can calculate the area. So I'll simply say cout the area of the triangle is, and then I can cout, even though I'm putting this on a different line, it's really going to be same line because I didn't put an end-else statement over here. My triangle dot calc area. Notice it doesn't need any parameters. It's just open and close parentheses over here. So what this thing does is it returns the area and then an end-else statement. Just to remind you over here, so calculate area, it's going to return a double, namely the area of the triangle. So that's what this thing, it returns a double and displays it to the output. Save my work. Let's say that the base is 2 and the height is 3. Okay, so it's saying that this is what the area is. Let's see if that's true. Okay, so we know that the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So 1/2 0.5 times the base times the height equals 3. Yep, that's right. All right, now notice that that is different than what I initially gave over here, which is a base of 1 and a height of 2. So what I did here was I changed my triangle, which originally had a base of 1 and a height of 2. I got the data from the user, and then I changed it with set base and set height. So it really, originally it was 1/2, or 1 for the base, 2 for the height, I should say, which was a different answer than when I entered 3, or 2 rather, in 3. Okay, and that's it. So let me comment this out and try another triangle. So I could have said triangle, called my triangle, but this one has no parameters. Okay. It still will work because I'm changing the object my triangle. Uh-oh. No, I don't want to run. What errors did I commit? Did I misspell this? Really, I just want to do this. Copy this, paste, and let's run this. There we go. Sorry, no open and close parentheses because there are no parameters. So I type in 2, type in 3, and sure enough, the area is 3. So again, as you can see, any variant of my triangle that I create, whether it's one with the overloaded constructor or with the default constructor, I'm just simply getting the base and the height from the user, setting that to my triangle, and then displaying the results with my triangle.calculate area. And that is it. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.